The E.A.F.P podcast.
As electrifying as a hairdryer thrown into a hot tub, my friend.
On the JCA Sports Podcast on Spotify and Anchor app. I think it would be a lot easier if I hit the button, right? Hey, guys. Oh, that felt good. It's been a while since I've done this. Shaking my cobwebs. It's been a while since I did the soccer podcast. But welcome to the E.A.F.P podcast. I got to create a banner. It says JCA Sports Podcast. Let me just switch up to the other one. But yes, welcome back. I'm finally back after a while, after teasing everybody, after telling everybody I was going to do it. Life got in the way. I'm back. I'm ready. This is ready to go. Got a lot to talk about. Got a lot to catch up on. Champions League. Match week 5 is in the books. Teams already been eliminated, heading into Europa League from the Champions League. Europa League was today too as well. We're heading into the World Cup. The guys, if you can see right here, 24 days and counting left before the World Cup starts. And we're gonna go through the groups quickly as possible. I'm gonna go through Group A, B, and C for today. I'm also gonna give you guys the best bets for the weekend. Obviously, I'm trying to win you guys a little bit of money. But yes, I'm back on a new platform, Star 60 Media, guys, the E.A.F.P podcast. If you guys haven't liked us or added us as a friend on the Star 60 Media app, where we get all our shows, not only just my soccer show, but the JCA Sports Podcast, 3 Up, 3 Down, Big League Chicago, and Only Football. We have a lot of podcasts going on that platform too as well. As always, like and share all of our shows, not just mine, but all the other ones that I just mentioned too as well. The link will be on the... The link will be on here with Jose, the other member of many different of our podcasts here for the Star 6 Media platform. But yes, the link is on here, guys. If you want to join me, talk about soccer, whatever you guys want to talk about, I am here ready to communicate and to talk to you guys about what is going on in the footballing world. Let's get it off with the Champions League heading off. And it's already been settled who has already made it into the next round for the round of 16. And honestly, let's just talk about the teams that didn't make it, right? Obviously, the big three that we all known already: Barça, Juve, and Atletico Madrid. Barça going into in a transition, but in a transition to where it's hard to say where they're at right now at the moment, simply because Xavi's his first full season as Barcelona's head coach, but at the same time, it's like the players that they bought in. They weren't. Let's be honest. In the 5 games, they've only looked good in 1. They haven't been fully convincing at all in any of their matchups. They don't look great. Even when they look great, they don't even look great. If that makes any even sense at all. Like Barcelona has had a very up and down roller coaster. Now they're second in La Liga. And even then they don't look as convincing, but they're still there simply because the talent, I guess you can say, that they have on that team can get them through over in La Liga. But when it comes to the big matchups, especially against the Clásico and Real Madrid, you can tell the similarities. You can tell the difference. No, there's no similarities. You can tell the difference between one team and the other. The team who actually been succeeding in the last 5-6 years compared to the other team who hasn't done anything at all within the last 5-6 years too as well, including with or without Lionel Messi. And it's just been a big problem for Barcelona literally within the last 3 years in itself. So it's crazy enough that once again they are knocked out of the Champions League to head into the playoffs for the round of 16. They're heading into the Europa League, no matter what, with a tie or a victory or even a loss. Last game of the season against Victoria Pilsen. It's just it's a situation to where there's a whole. So I could actually do a whole podcast about Barcelona and everything they have done wrong and the little that they've done right. It's just for a team to be as big as they are, supposedly what they like to call themselves as a big club, and they really are. Let's be honest. Let's put all the hatred aside. They're one of the biggest clubs in Europe and especially in Spain. But to put themselves in that situation, being in millions and millions of dollars in debt, paying Lionel Messi under the table with that amount of money that they got, losing Messi and the way how they let him go is another reason, but that's another whole story for another day. The transition that they've been through, they've done it in a way that how they did it, especially the key players that they got, and do these players fit the mold of being in Barcelona? Like that's just weird in itself. That's just a whole other conversation. That's a whole nother podcast. And I'm telling you, Barcelona, the reason, and there you go, Johnny. What up, John? Johnny Parlay. Listen to this guy if you guys want him in money. He said Barca's trash, and they really are. I don't want to be bogus like that, right? But it's true. They haven't been great or up to par or up to Barcelona standards at all within the last couple of years. And it's just it's sad to see that way. You know, obviously he's a Madrid fan. You can see a la Madrid ni nada más. And it's he said we'll give Hazard for free, and even then, so what difference does he make too as well? Jose says go Liverpool. You'll never walk alone, even though he says stand alone. But I'm not going to embarrass him like that. And then they say they've been messy since they lost Messi, and even when they had Messi, they still look messy. I see what you did on there. You know, play on words. Good one, John. But yeah, if you guys want to join us here on my podcast to talk some football, the link is on here too. You can join me at any time. Talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, soccer related. The link is on the comment section as well. Another team who's also in crisis too. We're going down to Italy is Juventus. Juventus again, not looking great in Champions League, not looking great and also in the Liga Italia. It's another team going into some crisis or going through a crisis right now. In a favorable group. Obviously, the tough one there was against PSG, right? I think that was the only toughest game that they had on their group. But Benfica, okay, maybe give Benfica a little bit of a challenge, but Juventus to what they are, their standards are, and what they provide as a club history. This performance isn't acceptable at all. They got Vladic last year to help out their scoring woes. Hasn't made a difference. It feels like they are getting older at the wrong positions or in the positions that they don't need to be that old in. And they're just all discombobulated at the moment. They only got 3 points in these last 5 games. 3 points. Juventus, 3 points in 5 games. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. This team is another team that's in transition to what route are they going? Because look, you can't say, especially in Turin, especially in Italy, that Juventus is like how we like to say here in the United States, quote unquote, a rebuild. You can't say that in Juventus because Juventus every single year must compete for the title, whether if it's the Coppa Italia, whether if it's the Serie A, whether if it's even in the Champions League. This team cannot compete. I mean, this team needs to compete in every single tournament that they're in. And what got me was the performance against Maccabi Haifa. That they ended up. That's the only 3 points that they got from from that's the only 3 points that Maccabi got. It was from Juventus. It another team that's in this again. They're old in the wrong places. They're not competing to the highest standards. This team on paper looks like a team that could compete with any single team across Europe. But it's been shown that even in Italy, they have been struggling. There are teams like AC Milan, like Inter Milan, even Roma, who's on the come up. Like the big teams have already caught up to them. And the years where Juventus have taken over the Serie A for many, many years, I want to say close to over 10 years, that ring is no longer there. Now it's going to be shared with this team, Napoli, who's undefeated in Serie A too as well. It's another team that's on the come up. And Juventus right now, it's it's sad to see a team. Now, granted, we're talking about years ago when they got caught cheating and all that stuff. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. But Juventus, from where they came back down on the way up, and now the crashing, how they're crashing right now, this team needs an overhaul and a half. And they need to find the right places. Now, Italy is strong. It's hard for teams, players to go to Italy simply because of the tax implications that they have throughout the country of Italy. but they need to find a way if they want to go back on this grand scale. They're going to go to the Europa League, another big team that's going to the Europa League too to compete for the second tier European title. And they're going to play against the I want to say they play against the second place teams of every group heading into the playoffs. I think that's how that works for the teams that finish third in the Champions League. And the third team is kind of, how should I put this? How should I describe Atletico Madrid? Now we know Atletico Madrid has always been that team that's been up and down. One year, they go to the Champions League final. Another year, they make it out of the knockout group stage. Another year, they're winning La Liga. Another year, they're competing, but fall at the very end. Where how do I explain Atletico Madrid? Because there's always that time that Cholo Simeone says it's it's like the methods is tiring to see that we've been seeing Cholo Simeone be the manager, be the coach for Athletic Madrid for this long, and yet all they have accomplished is two league titles, a Champions League final, and I mean memorable matchups in Champions League, but nothing outside of that. It's like yes, I see it. Oh, they're doing Griezmann dirty, but that's not. See, that's not Atletico Madrid's fault, Johnny. That I think that's just the contract that they had between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. That if he plays over a certain time, Atletico Madrid have to pay a certain amount to Barcelona. That was a kind of like their loophole in their contract, and you see Griezmann only paying like 28, 29 minutes. Now that contract and that's over with. Now they completely sold Antoine Griezmann to Atletico Madrid, so you won't see that anymore at all. But you're right. It was kind of dirty, but that was just a contract thing, money thing, to put it like that. They're doing they're doing that. And you're right. Who's even on Juve? I can't even name a player on Juve other than Vladic, and I think Bonucci's still there. Willing Schnetsky is still in there. Um, that's the best I can give you for who's on Juve, John, for real. But back to Atletico Madrid. This team. When are we needing? When are we going to see a fresh face? When are we going to see different ideas? When, because don't get me wrong, to a certain point, to a certain degree, the Cholo way works in certain games, and there's certain games, especially with the talent level that Atletico Madrid has. He kind of needs them to free flow them, to let them play. And easier said than done, right? And obviously, you could do that in FIFA. You could do that anywhere, and we can literally just say that to ourselves. But the Cholo way is dry. It's literally dry. Sit back, park the bus, defend, go on the counter attack. I mean, they have players that can play that type of style, especially going forward. But he has players that can create and can do something with that team, but nothing happens. Nothing's inspiring. Everything is bland. Everything is boring. Everything isn't it? And the only time it gets exciting is when they actually allow goals in, if that makes any sense. Like now they have to go and press and attack, and then like, why don't you do that in the first place? Now, yesterday they had a chance to. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, not yesterday. On Tuesday, they had a chance to. No, yeah, it was yesterday. They had a chance to win the game. They were tied 2-2. They had a penalty in the 90th minute, 90th plus minute, to even have a chance to go back up into second place into this group, and give them a chance to compete and make it into the round of 16 as in second place. But they ended up missing the penalty. They ended up tying the point. I mean, they ended up tying, and with the tie, Porto had advanced um to the round of 16 with 9 points, and their group was super favorable. That group was the easiest group that I think Atletico Madrid can ever imagine, can ever have, ever since they came back into the Champions League. They had Club Bruges. They had FC Porto, which was probably a little tough group, a little tough play. They had Bayern Leverkusen in that same group, and it was like, okay, Atletico can come out of this group as top dog. They only had 5 points in 5 games. That's a point a game, and they've lost heartbreakers. They tied a heartbreaker yesterday against Leverkusen, and they're on the verge of just being completely out of Europe. Like this season for the first time in Cholo Simeone, because I think they ended up winning the Europa League a few years back before even reaching or after reaching the final in the Champions League. But I digress from that conversation. Like next week is if they don't come out with a point or Leverkusen wins, like they're out of Europe permanently. All they worry about is just the domestic titles in winning La Liga and La Copa del Rey. And even then, that's even a stretch comparing how much points. It's like a 4 or 5 point difference, but a 4 or 5 point difference in Spain, especially against Real Madrid, is it possible? Yes, it's not impossible, but it's hard to do it because Real Madrid has to stumble twice in order for the. And plus, by the way, you still kind of have to to go through Barcelona, even though Barcelona isn't great or isn't doing good, you still have to go through them. So it's kind of like you bring in this title race all over again, but they don't convince, and especially with the players that they have, Atletico Madrid doesn't convince you to win anything at all, and it's been like that for the past couple of years, other than the one that they won 2 years ago, when they won La Liga in a down year, I guess you can say, for both Real Madrid and Barcelona. You're listening to the E.A.F.P podcast here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, brought to you by Star Six Media. Make sure you guys hit the little bell in the Star Six Media Facebook page to get notified when all our podcasts are out live. Not only just my soccer podcast, not only my soccer podcast, but the other podcasts too as well, the baseball, football, and everything else that we're going through into Star Six Media. Just make sure you just give us a little like and share all of our show. La Liga Mexicana final is tonight, the first leg between Pachuca and Toluca, and I honestly thought that might look. I'm For people that know me, for people that been knowing me, they know where my allegiance is with La Liga Mexicana and Club America, and the performance that they had last week in the semifinals in both games, honestly, were surprising nonetheless. I mean, this was a team that was coming in hot, like the hottest team all year long, or at least within the last 14 games, winning every single game that they had played, not lost, not even a tie. And the performance that they against Toluca last week in Toluca said it all to me that this team felt the pressure in competing or being in a semifinal, and it looked like it too. And then especially in the last game when you're at home, you just need 2 goals to advance or 1 goal to tie, whatever the case may be. They botched it. Errors, the 2 errors, especially the first game with Guillermo Ochoa. Look, my love for Ochoa has been well documented either on and every social media platform, and every single person that knows, they know how I feel about Guillermo Ochoa. But you can't let that first goal in, like last week. That was a complete error. Same thing. The only goal that the Lucas scored on Sunday, same thing. It was you we've known that's always been his Achilles heel, and it's been proven again that in set pieces, that's how you can, beat Club America, and that's what happened. Literally, just errors that they shot themselves on the foot. They didn't go to the final as the Super Liga, as the number 1 team heading into the Liga Mexicana final, and now you got Toluca Pachuca, which to me, the favorite here is Pachuca. I think to me was the scariest team for me to face in a final if they make it to a final or a semi to a final. And I think that they're a little bit more complete. Defensively, they're stout. They get you good on the counter attack. Their offensive play is great. Tonight they're in Toluca. I do feel that Pachuca will get the advantage here to go home and probably win it on Sunday. Don't bet on it though. Don't listen to me, but it is what it is. I'll give you the next bets coming up a little later after the show. My boy C's. What up, Caesar? No vamos al mundial. And speaking of which, that's a great segue, Caesar, right there, as we got right here. As we're going to break down the groups of the World Cup. I kind of wanted to do this a while back, but, like I said, life got in the way. as life got in the way. We're breaking down today Group A, Group B, and Group C of this World Cup coming up in 24 days. If you see right here, or you can't see, my screen is too small, but 24 days and counting till the World Cup kicks off between Qatar and Ecuador. That's the first game. That's the first game of the group. We're gonna break this down. This is probably the easiest group, so quote unquote. There's only two teams coming out of this group that I feel we're gonna have for the second time in World Cup history where the host nation doesn't come out of the group stage. First one being in 2010 with South Africa. History is going to repeat itself 12 years later as Qatar. I don't personally believe that Qatar will make it out of this group and or even get a single point in this group. Uh, Ecuador is a great team. And it's not a great team, but it's a very disruptive, very solid foundation team that you can't get through easily, but you can't give them that much space or else they'll exploit you. And especially playing in South America, Ecuador did a fantastic job, especially against the big giants too. They hung around against Argentina. I think they got a point off of them. They hung around against Brazil, but Brazil being with the star level and Brazil being Brazil, um, they did the best they can. They didn't get any points out of it. They played well in Uruguay, and they played well against Uruguay at home too as well. They manhandled Chile in the second game, I believe it was. This Ecuadorian team shouldn't go under the radar as a team as an easy 3 points, especially against Senegal and the Netherlands. I think Netherlands can easily get 3 points, easily 9 points here, run away with the group, and be the first one in this group. But the second the team that fights for that second spot that second game against Ecuador and Senegal would be a good matchup, would be the key factor in to see who advances to the next round because it's a situation to whatever team gives up their lead or makes a mistake will advance out of this group in the second spot. I think Senegal will give a good battle to Netherlands. That will be the first game of this second group or the second game of this first group. Um, Later that same day, I believe it is. I don't know the schedule on top of my head on which the matchups will be, but it's Netherlands should have this easily, should have all three games in their pockets. But a slip up against Senegal in that first game could throw this whole group in a loop, and we should have an exciting group with this one. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Netherlands are going to take care of business all three games. They're going to advance on top of this group. And to me, what's the best African team in Senegal in this group? I think they will come out second. It'll be tough. It'll be a tough battle on the way out. But I think they win 2 out of the 3 games. Ecuador will probably do their best, but they'll get probably 3 points against Qatar, and that will probably be it. If they could get a point out of, if they get a point out of either Senegal or Netherlands, I could see Ecuador coming out of this group. But in my personal humble opinion, Senegal is great. I think they're the best African team in this World Cup, and it's going to be Netherlands and the first coming out in first, and then Senegal coming out on as the second place team in this group. That's Group A for right now. That's for the World Cup that's starting in 24 days. This one is interesting. This one is very interesting simply because on who is in this group. So we have England, we have Iran, we have the United States of America, and we have Wales. Talk about how should I say this? Talk about the English Revolutionary all over again, right? Wales being, right there by England as one of the Great Britain states, the United States, and we know about our history between the United States and England, right? And this leads back all the way back to 1950 as what the United States call it, the biggest upset in United States men's history in their whole entire history in footballing history, beating England 1-0 in a World Cup. This has a lot of implications simply because every single team in this group has something wrong with them, and I love chaos, especially in a group this tight. Look, we know Gareth Bale. It could be the game changer in this single game or in this single group, and could be the game changer and turn this group on its head. or we can get the Gareth Bale that we have seen in the last prior years in Madrid. But knowing Gareth Bale, when it comes to Wales, this guy is a whole different animal. Iran, I'm sorry, I don't know nothing about you, and it's gonna stay that way too as well. I heard you're pretty speedy on the outside. On the counter attack, that's how basically you're gonna play every single game, parking the bus or defending in your own half and get the teams on the counter attack, which can be which can cause some havoc with these next two teams that I'm about to talk about. I'm gonna start off with England and then end it with the United States. England, the biggest, most interesting team heading into this World Cup simply because of what you're going to do with it. Look, they don't have a goalkeeping issue. At least in my opinion, they don't. If it's either Pickford or Ramsdale, I think you have a solid goalkeeper there, anyways, regardless who it is. On the right back position is probably where you have the most. Whether if it's Trent, I think Kyle Walker will probably be the guy that you're going to lean on to on the right back because Trent is Trent at the moment, and that's a whole nother podcast. If I would get somebody that wants to talk to me about that, we can get that a little bit situated. The center back position, if Harry Maguire is called up, I think England will have trouble because Harry Maguire hasn't been Harry Maguire ever since he left Leicester. Let's just put it that way, okay? And Leicester wasn't back in 2016, 2015. You have John Stones on the right. On the left, I think you have Luke Shaw. I think you're solid there. The middle and in attacking, there's by far options from Mason Mount to Phil Foden to Harry Kane to Raheem Sterling, Bakayo Saka from Arsenal. You have just a plethora of attacking players, but it's just the back four or whatever back three you want to play with. With a line of five, with two wingers on the wide, three middles, and your attacking players. All that's fine and dandy. But heading into this World Cup, the England national team has not won a single game, or has won one game from the Nations League to friendlies. I've only won one game so far this year in 2022, and that's a concerning problem simply because, like, this team, this squad that's going to be assembled shouldn't be in this position, and they have an amount of these great amount of players, and yet coming into this World Cup, into this group that's difficult in its own, simply because you have Iran that you don't know how they're going to play. You have Wales that you have experience, plus they're part of your Great Britain thing, Great Britain, just like here in the United States, whatever you want to call it, colonization. And now the United States, another team that's coming into this World Cup with so many question marks. The United States men's national team, to me, or this is the first time that they're in the World Cup since 2014. They missed out on 2018. First of all, the uniforms, ugly. The kits, disgusting. Don't care what you say. Those kits are disgusting. They're ugly. I see them every day. I look at them with disgust. It's kind of like, why? 8 years. It's been since 2014 since you've been in the World Cup, and this is what you give us? Like, seriously? Or this is what you give your fans? Now, the presentation jackets are nice. I think all the presentation jackets for the World Cup are all nice, including from Denmark and everybody in between. And I'm talking about even from Qatar and everybody in between. I think the presentation jackets for every team are nice. With that being said, the United States men's national team have a problem, and they have an identity problem. And I've been saying this for a while. I honestly do believe, and I still see it to this day, that who's the striker, who's going to be the one that's going to set the fear up front. Because Ricardo Pepe, he may be young, but when he plays for the national team, he becomes small. I mean, the dude, I think Eriksen from Leeds, he really hasn't been getting any play time up front with the United States men's national team, so he's pretty raw. We don't know where he's going to come from. The dude from I think it's Pitfolk from. I think he's from Young Boys. I believe that's who he played. I know he's in Switzerland. But another one who's had his chance, had his run up top with the United States men's national team, hasn't really provided anything. In the middle, obviously, you got Ty Adams, Weston McKennie. You won't have no problems. Christian Pulisic is not getting any playing time out your wingers or whatever you're going to play him, either behind your striker or out wide. You have, I'm forgetting, but defensively, you're having question marks all over the place because the United States men's national team and CONCACAF, to me, in my eyes, really never had a solid back four. It was always an alternating back four. And when you had some type of consistency, something always ends up happening with injuries and whatnot. And And goalkeeping is another issue too as well. Are you going to go with Zach Steffen? Are you going to go with Matt Turner? Now Matt Turner, well now Steffen is the starter in I think he's in Switzerland, I think, playing right now at the moment. I really don't know on top of my head, but I know right now he's getting playing time there. And Matt Turner, although he's the backup to Arsenal, his performances or his when he plays so far, he's gotten a clean sheet in the 2 European and Europa League games that he's played and the 1 FA Cup. And it's just and that's the quick. Like, who is more equipped now? I think Stefan fits into Berghalter the way he wants to play. But if you want to talk about a goalkeeper in form, if you want to talk about a goalkeeper who has confidence, because when I see Zach Stefan playing for the United States men's national team, his confidence level kind of drops tremendously, and it reminds me of the matchup I think last year in Manchester City with Manchester City when he was Manchester City's backup to Ederson. His confidence level in playing, that's how he looks at the United States men's national team. That's the Zach Steffen that I see every single time he puts on the gloves for the red, white, and blue. And it's just it's crazy enough that the United States men's national team, yes, they got first place in the CONCACAF, but even then, even playing for the qualifiers, they never looked that convincing. You go to El Salvador, the 0-0, I'm sorry, the 0-0 tie when they went on the road after being the United States men's national, after being La Selección Mexicana. Like the performance afterwards was abysmal. There's been moments even against Canada how you've been outplayed by Canada. That's the number one team. I don't know why I said them. That's the number one team in the they got schlagged here in the United States and they also got schlagged in Canada. It's like, and the question mark saying is Berhalter up for the position? Is Easy up for the job? And to me, in this group, it all depends on what Gareth Bale we are going to see. Because this group is easy enough for England to run away with it on paper. This group is easy enough for the United States men's national team to compete for the number one spot, but definitely for the number two spot on paper. On paper, Wales looks like they can be an interesting team to disrupt all of this with Gareth Bale and Ramsey and company. But yet, it's interesting you say this because this group is so wide open. It is so wide open. It's going to be an interesting group, and you get to see the United States men's national team and England play on Black Friday. I think it's a great matchup. This whole week, that whole weekend is going to be great between the United States men's national team and England, and this group is going to be as interesting as they come. They're going to play on the second day, England versus Iran, and on the third day, you're going to see the United States men's national team face against Wales, and you're also going to see, which to me, and people can say whatever they want to say about this or whatever I'm about to say, but to me, this team is a favorite to win the World Cup. Once I get it to work, there it goes. Is Argentina. Group C. Group C is interesting in its own, simply because of the team that's in it. Right? Argentina's favorite. In my eyes, Argentina could run away with this group with their hands and feet tied behind their backs or tied, just simply tied. Right? I feel like Argentina are coming in as the best selección coming into this World Cup. They've been unbeaten. They've been unbeaten in the last 30 some odd games. They're about to reach, if they win the first two or three, or if they win the three, or if they don't lose within the 3 games, I think they tie or they beat Italy's record of 38 games winning. I mean, we got Messi right here from the Triple Cheddar Sports Podcast. It's the team that's in green, white, and red that I am going to be a mess. I am going to be very upset the way how they play. This team hasn't been convincing in any matchup other than the Costa Rica game at Costa Rica, where they played probably the perfect football that they've ever played in my eyes in so long. They weren't convincing in qualifiers. They weren't convincing in any of the friendlies. The one game that they looked great for one half, they ended up losing against Colombia in the second half. It just looked a mess. There's no true striker Even with Raul Jimenez being injured, even when Raul Jimenez being healthy, there is no true attacking style format for this team. Tecatito may or may not even make it to this World Cup after breaking. What was it? He broke his ankle or something back in preseason, back in July, August. Chucky Lozano isn't the same Chucky Lozano that we've seen in 2018, and hasn't been that same Chucky Lozano since then. You're talking about an aging middle with Edson Alvarez, with Hector Herrera, and Andres Guardado, which probably be your starting middle. You having questions out wide defensively, even with what's your pairing? Is it going to be Nestor Araujo? Is it going to be Nestor Araujo and Hector Herrera? Is it going to be Cesar Montes and Nestor Araujo? Is it going to be Cesar Montes and Hector Moreno? Is it who's your right back? Probably is going to be Jorge Sanchez. But me personally, I've seen him in Ajax. He looks like he's improving his one-on-one defense being there, but he doesn't convince me because I've seen him a lot with Club America. You're going to have Jesus Gallardo or Arteaga, depending on. I think Arteaga is probably going to start the game against Saudi Arabia and possibly even Argentina with the speed that they have out wide. The only true position that Mexico has literally solid, and maybe this is just the bias in me, is with Guillermo Ochoa, but like with what I've seen in Ochoa in the set pieces, whether if it's corner or free kick, like it's a big question mark. I still love the man. I think he's God. I think he is the best goalkeeper Mexico has ever had in the history of the Selección Mexicana, hands down, period. Nobody comes even close after that. Again, biased, but whatever the case may be. But the Selección Mexicana has so many question marks. I think Tata Martino had picked favorites or picked whatever he had this foundation. He's not going to pick players that are going to be on form like Santiago Jimenez. I think he's called up right now, but I don't think he's going to make the World Cup. Um, there's players that have gotten some playing time in it, but won't be participating. Like there's other great Mexican players out there that he's not even giving a chance to look at it simply because he has his plan. His plan is going to stick. Oh, and by the way, what is his plan? I want people to tell me what is his plan. What is Tata Martino's plan? Because I don't understand it and I don't get it. If you can't go forward and attack, how are you going to get forward? Like people were saying Carlos Vela, people have been saying Chicharito, and that's fine and dandy. They've been tearing it up in MLS, and I'll give credit where credit is due. Right, Chicharito being the leading or the all-time Mexican goal scorer, but how is Chicharito's mainly known how he gets his goal for being just in and around the area. That's about it. Like, he's improved his build up play. He's improved his in the MLS. He's improved, but how much is it really improvement, or how much is the lack of talent in the MLS? Right. Like I watched the final for the Western Conference final between LAFC and the Galaxy, and I saw Chicharito as like, how is he going to make a difference with the Selección Mexicana? Hell, how is even Carlos Vela going to make a difference with the Selección Mexicana? Because I personally don't see it. Like I don't. And as much as I'm bitching and moaning right now about the Selección Mexicana, as much as I'm complaining about the Selección Mexicana, my stupid ass is still gonna wear the verde every single game between the first game against Poland, the second game against Argentina, and the last game against Saudi Arabia. My dumbass is still gonna wear the green and cheer on for them. Like I want this team to perform. Plus, by the way, from what I've heard and from what I read, we're not gonna see those beautiful white jerseys unless if they make it out of the round of 16. So it's kind of like look, the jerseys. I finally Adidas got it right with the Selección Mexicana and their jerseys. I think they're spot on. They're perfect. They're beautiful. The presentation jacket is amazing. All on top of that, but if Mexico doesn't get out of this group, we're not going to see those beautiful white jerseys, and that sucks because Argentina's the home team, but they wear white and blue. Mexico is the home team, but Poland wears white and Saudi Arabia wears white, and I think Mexico is the visiting team, and they wear white, and they're gonna have to wear the green ones. So my this is gonna hurt me, but my personal picks to come on, and my previous pick for Group B, I think England finds a way to make it out of the group as the top of the group, and I am going to go with Wales. I think Wales and England actually come out of Group B, and the United States men's national team, until they prove me wrong, depending how they play the first game. I think they're gonna struggle in this World Cup immensely. big time. And especially the game, I could kind of see it where they probably might even get, shellacked in the first game or in the second game against England on Black Friday. As for Group C, Argentina's going to run away with it. I could see Argentina pull up like a 5-6 spot on Saudi Arabia. I could definitely see that. Okay, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I could see them winning by multiple goals. As for the second team, although my heart says Mexico, my mind says Poland. And Poland, although all they have is Lewandowski and it's Lewandowski and company, Mexico to me has a lot more question marks than yeah, Mexico just has a lot more question marks to what kind of team are they going to be. Nothing convinces me that they're going to be better otherwise. Nothing convinced me that they're going to attack this team from the get go. I think they're going to probably sit back in most of these games and defend. And if they do that, that's fine. That's great. I still think Argentina could put 2, 3 of them against them, anyways. Saudi Arabia, the first and the first game and the third game are the most important games for the Selección Mexicana. If they come out with 3 points against Poland, Mexico comes second in this group. And I say that confidently, but kind of reserved at the same time. Simply because it's the Selección Mexicana and I just don't feel like they're up for the challenge in this one. And it's just a complicated position that they're in. I'm gonna go back to the Facebook comments. Jack, what's up, Jack? Make sure you guys see 3 up 3 down here with Jack coming up in the baseball. They're gonna talk about the World Series that starts tomorrow. He's part of he's part of the Star Six Media Group for 3 up 3 down. He has Poland and Argentina too as well coming out of the group. And he has, is this the least confident you felt for Mexico heading in the World Cup? Hell yeah. Oh, 100%. Oh, what 110%, 120%, if that's even a thing. This is by far the least, probably like the least happy, least confident, probably like anything you could think. This is probably like the least I've ever felt simply because of what I've seen within the last, not just last year, but within the last 2 years, 3 years, 2.5 years, is when I seen with the Selección Mexicana. No creativity, no attacking options. Defensively, they're pretty solid, okay, from midfield back, but it's going forward where it's just a mess. And they've proven time and time again where they have spurts, and they have spurts of scoring, and they have spurts of just crapping the bed defensively. My heart says Mexico. My mind says Poland. If Mexico gets the 3 points against Poland, Mexico will come out second in this group. They will lose the second game against Argentina. And by the good God, by the good Lord them himself, if they come out with a performance against Saudi Arabia, you're going to see Mexico come out of this group. Because I don't think they can hang around with Argentina for 20, 30, 40 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. And then once Argentina gets the ball in the back of the net, game over from then on out, because I can see Argentina putting up a 3 spot on the Selección Mexicana. All right, guys. I told you guys I'm gonna give you guys some gambling advices on some games for over the weekend. I have them right here on the list. I should have popped them up, but I got my little rant going on about the Selección Mexicana. So my best bet for this weekend is Saturday. Oh, one of my best bets for the weekend. It's going to be the return of Graham Potter to Brighton. It's between Chelsea and Brighton. The game's close. Chelsea is favored by a smidge. You get plus 150 on Chelsea on the money line. I think that's a good way to put it. Put Chelsea on the money line if you want to do a same game parlay. Put Chelsea on the money line plus over 2.5 goals. There's going to be goal scoring on this one. Chelsea defensively have had their issues, and Brighton, how they've been playing very constructively, very organized. They have great attacking options too as well. I think Chelsea will find a way under Graham Potter. Chelsea has improved mightily. I mean, they've been improving. Obviously, they tied the first two games, but you can see this Chelsea team building up momentum. Um, Building up momentum and coming out at that. So to me, Chelsea plus 2.5 goals. I think that'll be a great same game parlay. My second one, I gave it out during the week on our JCA Sports podcast as our best bets for the weekend. I did put between Borussia Dortmund and the Bayern Leverkusen on a draw. I think it's a 2-2 draw. These teams are vulnerable to attacking, vulnerable on defensively, and great on attacking force. They separate themselves. I think it's by 3 points. The last time I checked, 2 or 3 points. Bayern, Dortmund up there. But this game means a lot. This game is a very good one. Put in a 2-2 draw. I just put in a draw. The draw was plus 250 on that part, and just for like I mean, there's a favorite, right? Every game has a favorite throughout the whole entire, um, the whole entire. You have to have a minus, right? You have to have what's a guaranteed. And the guaranteed for me is Real Madrid versus Girona on Sunday. Real Madrid at minus 550. So if you find a way to parlay those 3 or 4 into it, you put them in there. I think that's a guaranteed. Even though Real Madrid did lose over the weekend, over the weekend, the other day in Champions League. Yeah, definitely for sure. Those are going to be one. Josh, what up, Josh? He says, Jesus Miranda, get in this. Eric is going to give us some betting advice, at least in soccer. Every other sport, I hit and miss. All right. So what do you say? Soccer and basketball bets are tough. And then he says, yeah, that basically repeated the first time. So, yeah, I went longer than what I expected. I was trying to do this in half an hour. I actually went 47 minutes over. So that's great. At least I'm getting my cobweb shaken off. So I'm going to be live every Thursday at 7:30 here on the Star 6 Media platform. Just be on the lookout for the E.A.F.P podcast. Hit the little bell on the Star 6 Media to get notified not only when my podcast is on, but the JCE Sports podcast, Big League Chicago, Only Football podcast, 3 Up 3 Down, which is going to be up in about 10 minutes. I'm not sure if Jack's going live. Jack, if you're still watching, are you going to go live? Just put yes or no on here. Then you're going to go and talk about the World Series. You can check, and also Sports Strip Live with the Contreras brothers. I almost forgot about that one. So, yeah, this platform, you'll have all these podcasts available for you guys. Make sure, like I say, you hit subscribe, hit the bell, get notified, and always like and share all of our episodes. Next week, I'm gonna get into Group D, Group E, and Group F, and the World Cup. There's 24 days and counting. So the best tournament created in all of sports history. You only get this, every 4 years. I will break it down to we're leading up into the World Cup, where I get my teams that are going to come out first and second, and then I'll give you guys my bracket and who I personally think is going to be in the final for this year's World Cup. That's going to be in December. Yes, we have a World Cup November and December. Normally it's in the summer. So this is interesting. All right. So for all you soccer fans out there, I wish you luck on your teams, unless if you root for Tottenham, Manchester United, and that's pretty much it. That's all who's playing right now. I wish everybody luck except for those 2 teams. Wish you good luck on your gambling on whatever parlays you got. Pachuca is going to win the Liga Mexicana. They're going to win it convincingly, in my humble opinion. And then that'll be it. Other than that, I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, and with a different intro and possibly a different outro too as well. Until next time, guys, I'll see you till then. Good luck and have a great weekend.
Staggeringly brilliant, and Sevilla fall apart like King Louis' temple. It's astonishing. Look at the way he picks his spot. They could make Ebenezer Scrooge smile with the quality of his goal.
See you later.
Oh. Yes. Yes.
He's intolerable.